excited to be here on this beautiful Tuesday morning. I am so blessed and honored to have two of my favorite cohorts on LinkedIn. We've got Beverly Glazer, who's our every Tuesday wonderful co host. And we've got our guest today, Lance A. Slatton. And he's here to tell you a little bit more about what he's doing, primarily focused on elder care. Beverly's just a fantastic therapist and assists to so many people who are looking to move to that next level of success. But Beverly shares her story better than I can, so that's one good thing. Chat's very wide open. We depend on chat to make us relevant, provide a lot of quality takeaways. And with that said, I'll start with Beverly, and Beverly can introduce herself and first thoughts on fear.
Okay, first thoughts. First of all, thank you, Dawn, for that wonderful introduction. And for those who don't know me, yeah, I am a coach. I'm a therapist. Sometimes I'm an advisor, and I help people navigate between their business, their personal life, their social life, all that kind of stuff that does cause a lot of fear. Fear is on many different levels. We don't have to be absolutely fearful, stand up, as if you're a deer in headlights to be fearful. You can be fearful by just not taking that step. And I can say, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also speaking for you, Lance, that when people come to see you, there is an element of fear there. It's like, what is that person going to provide? What can they tell me that I don't already know? And there's a defense that's immediately there. And it's like, what can you do for me? And when we have those defense mechanisms out there, what you're doing is you're protecting yourself. You don't want to be hurt. And that's what fear does. I want to stay in my comfort zone. I do not want to be hurt. How can you get me out of whatever? You want that, but there's always an element of maybe not. A lot of people find that they're restricted. They're not going to try another restaurant. They're not going to try something new. They're not going to even look for another job because they will rationalize that this job is safe. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. There's so much to get into because fear is an integration of all kinds of things. And what we're going to do is face fear and overcome fear and go through those challenges. So as Dawn said, the line is all open. It's funny. My immediate reaction was I used to do a talk radio show, and I was going to say, the lines are all open. Call me. And I was going to give the number, okay, which is implanted in my head. And it's like, no, all you have to do on live stream is just talk, which is awesome. So I'm going to go back to you, Lance. And I also want to tell anybody to break any fear that you have. Knowledge is power. And if you check Lance's book, that's Lance A. Salton, and that's the truth. Okay. If you want to go and speak to him personally, check out the book first. And then that will break your fear and you will have confidence. Knowledge is power. Okay, Lance, you.
Um, Well, thank you, Don. Thank you, Beverly. Beverly, as usual, you're absolutely right. Fear is really from the unknown. We fear what we don't know. We fear uncertainty. Coming from my professional background, we encounter people that are on hospice. They have the fear of dying. We encounter people who recently got diagnosed with dementia. They fear what that illness is going to do to them going forward. Then the family, they fear what's going to happen to their loved ones, and they fear, how am I going to take care of my loved one? By educating yourself and becoming more informed it helps to minimize that fear of the unknown. And, even for myself, I fear, am I going to do a good job for this family? Am I going to, give them the best support and advice that they need? All things along those lines. Fear can really be a powerful, powerful thing that limits us from reaching our full potential. Also, I fear going to this class because I don't think I'm going to do good. Well, the old saying, you miss every shot you never take, so taking that time, having, I think, a lot of self-confidence, but also surrounding yourself, like with my profession, surrounding yourself with that support that can help you navigate and let you know it's not going to be, as bad as you think. We're here for you. I think it helps minimize that fear. And if you take the fear away, you really take away all the obstacles that prevent you from doing what you need to do.
Yeah, this is off to a terrific start. And I agree with both Beverly and Lance's insights. Fear is based typically on ignorance. If you don't know something, if it's brand new to you, it makes you a little bit more cautious, possibly. And at the same time, the smarter you reality than what is would be assumption or anticipation. But on the other side, fear can be a quality motivating factor, right? It could drive you to success based on your non desire to fail. And again, everything is relative. So, what's your time frame? What's your expectation? What's the better of the two evils if that's what you're dealing with? And I think pragmatism goes a long way, but I agree having a support group that's already in place, having people you can talk to, having people that have that experience already that can kind of go through things with you. So, anything that's, personal and even professional has that element of trepidation. And luckily today we have Google and we have YouTube, and you can really research something in a very small period of time, get a cross reference by 4 or 5, let's say, experts in the field, and eventually you'll end up with a much better way of being conversational, at least. And I think it's also a good discipline to get into anything, something new comes in, to understand it a little bit better before you worry about it. And the other thing is sometimes something takes a little time to digest, right? You're hit with some bad news, and that's not a good time to try to deal with it. It's try to absorb it and put it in perspective. And sometimes the next day or 2 days later, things settle, right? Because there's an emotional element to fear. It's just not lack of knowledge, it's a physical thing. So with that, I'll throw it right back to Beverly and have her continue to build on what we've just said.
Yeah, what we were talking about, what I'm going to pick up on what you said there, Don, which is we have Google, we have all kinds of, we have chat, GPT, we have, you name it, where we can get information. And you also have to know, though, you can do all the research that you like. You can also, though, do too much research. And that builds fear big time. When you start going deeper and deeper into more and more information, what happens is you can get too much information and you have to know where to stop. And I see that very often. Well, you see it all the time. You see it, for instance, with students that are trying to do the best that they can do, or when you're working in the workforce and you're trying so hard to make all your improvements, or you have to write a report, or you have to give a presentation. You have to, in everything, know when to stop, because you're building anxiety. And if you have to do public speaking or whatever it is, those are the stories that you've told yourself in your head that I'm not good enough. I need to get more information. I need to be able to more, 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 more. And that builds anxiety. So what you have to do is know it's enough. I have enough information. I'm tired. I have to go to bed now. allow yourself to understand, like you said, Lance, there's an element of confidence here. You have to know that not everybody knows everything, and you have to get the information or impart the information that you know, and you don't have to be anyone else but yourself. And you only have to give or get what you need. And that should immediately diminish your fear. As soon as you start competing with what else is out there, who's better than you in your mind, you've already lost. You're building anxiety. Anxiety can build up to fear. So just decompress, understand that those are negative stories that are driving you crazy, and they're totally unnecessary because nobody knows what's in your head, right? They just want you to be standing up, doing what you want, and get what you need. And so I just wanted to speak to that. Too much information comes at you, and you have to be able to disseminate that information and ask people. And out there on the internet, everybody's an expert, right? You have to really disseminate that and check everybody out, because everyone today, it's crazy. I mentioned it to my husband yesterday. Dr. So and so, if you check them out, where did they get this doctor and of what? Right? Anyone can call themselves anything. And and we get to just use that with TikTok and all the other social media that's out there, and we just accept a lot of things that are out there that are not true. So don't judge yourself by anyone else. Okay. If you're judging yourself by anyone else, you'll build the anxiety. We don't need that. Diminish the anxiety, you diminish the fear. So, Lance,
Yeah, I
anything
want
on
to
that?
yeah, I want to piggyback too on that. When we meet with families, they already have a heightened sense of anxiety. They have a heightened sense of fear. The two usually work hand in hand with one another. And sometimes that originates because when they go to that doctor and they get that diagnosis, I might have said this before here on the show, it's kind of like diagnose and adios. That's all they're getting is that diagnosis. They're not getting that
Mhm.
support in the map of what to do once you get home with that mom, that dad, spouse,
Yeah.
whoever it may be. And then the first thing they do is they jump on the internet. And
Mhm.